Hey, we are back with part 2 of AutisHim, and I'm still your host, Brenda Major, with
Mia Dawson.
and we have joining us Nick Richardson, Travis Jackson, Lonnie Mans, and Tyrone Green. They are part of AutisHim. Before we get back to that question, though, who came up with that name?
Oh, yeah.
So my oldest child did. I was looking for names and I couldn't. I was saying all kind of crazy stuff. And my wife was like, "Yo, that ain't gonna work." I was saying like I don't even really remember what names I came up with, but they were not working. And so my oldest walked in and was listening to me rattle off the names. And they was like, "Why don't you just name it AutismHim?" And literally turned around and walked back downstairs. And I was like, "You know what? That's it." That's how the name happened.
Wow.
That's perfect.
I love it. I love it.
So we were talking about, pushback from people who just don't quite get it. So who wants to share a little bit?
Oh yeah, I'll jump in on this one. So
Okay.
this is a great topic I've been waiting to talk about. So it's still a big task for my parents. So
Oh,
definitely one thing that's big to me and I always want to make sure is that my kids are close to their family. So I make sure that they visit my parents as much as they can,
Yeah.
specifically my mom, because I grew up with my mom as a single child, so I still want to make sure that she has that aspect of being close not only to me but my wife and my kids. So when we first started, when he was a baby, of course it's easy. You
yeah.
take care of a baby like any other child for the most part. As he, got older and he got his diagnosis, of course, this was new for my mom. And I would say she was very confused, just like we were, when we first found out. So I'll be honest, I didn't really know how to explain a lot of stuff, but my wife was a great guide to help me find the right words and the right research to put her in a position and be able to learn to accept it just like I did, but also be able to attend to his needs. I think the biggest thing me and her had to really have a sit down about was his screen time and what he got to do at her house, because I think we could all agree when you go to grandma's house, the baby can
Yeah.
do what he want. Y'all
Yes,
got rules at
no.
y'all house, but here he do what he want. I
Mhm.
Yeah.
feel that. No
Yeah.
offense to the grandmas. However, we gotta be able to level set and get the kids back to the school, for the upcoming week, or even if it's just summer. I'll put my kid in summer camp, but here nor there. We
Mhm.
had to have a conversation like, hey, I understand you want them to have fun, do whatever there, but the thing is, he didn't understand like. When I go to grandma's house, I could do whatever I want. I come here, it's so strict and it's not fun here. So he would say for a while, like, it's not fun at home. And we had to have a conversation with him, like, hey, we're setting you up for success. You have to learn structure. There's a way to do things. So I think, and with them talking to her, like, hey, I understand about having fun at your house. I get that, but let's try to limit some things. Set some standards, and they started working for her. In which now she's implementing that, and it's making that transition back to our house easier, because that's one of the big things my son tends to struggle with, is transition.
Okay.
Now, as far as my father, he still kind of has the old school mentality of, do what I say goes. And,
Mhm.
that translated to me. And that's something I'm still working on as well. Because I, want my children to know that, you need to respect your elders. And,
Right.
I
Right.
want you to have an opinion, but at the same time, you know, typically what we're trying to do for you is the best thing. But
Mhm.
although it's something I'm still working with my parents on, and I'm okay with that, because that's just a way for us to grow our relationship and
Mhm.
make things stronger. Kind of like Ty. I'm not gonna speak on my in-laws, but they're great, So that's my situation currently.
Okay.
You want to go, Lonnie?
You go ahead.
So everybody in my family, first of all, kind of loves my son. My son is the only grandchild on my side of the family.
Oh, wow.
So
Oh,
he
wow.
doesn't have any cousins. So grandma and grandpa spoil him extra. So
Oh.
he gets to do whatever within reason at Grandma OG and Pop-Pop's house, because that's what he calls them.
Okay.
And so, but at the beginning, my parents kind of questioned it. Like, you're like, what does this mean? Like, what does this mean when it comes to our relationship with him? Was kind of the question.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, it was just love him. Love him. Regardless of being neurodiverse or neurotypical, a child responds to love. And I think my parents love him. They live in a different state. You know, my mom has threatened many a times to walk from that state to this state.
Wow.
And to deal with anybody who has an issue with my son.
Okay.
So, you know, we'll walk and try to make sure everything's good. So he sees that as, and I think my son sees the love first before he sees anything else. Okay. And does my son need discipline? Absolutely. Did I come from a disciplined home? Absolutely. I came from a home full of guys. The only female in my house was my mom. Wow. So my mom, having a grandson, she definitely doesn't treat him the way she did when we were coming up at all. But she still understands some of the things that boys need: space, time, and energy to run around and have a good time. And she also understands that the rules in my house won't transcend to her house, but she will respect the way I'm trying to raise him. On my in-laws' house, I have cousins that have kids on the spectrum. Mother-in-law and father-in-law, everybody seems to love him. They love him, not seems, they love him. And for the most part, to them, they just see a boy growing up, because we tell our family, my family members, that he has autism? Absolutely. Okay. But we don't, it's not the perpetual conversation when it comes to him. The conversation is, how's he doing in school? How's his grades looking? Is he, acting up? Is he acting right? Is he, following directions or whatever? Same thing that would have been asked of a child that's considered neurotypical. So it's not really like a thing, so to speak. A lot of it, I hear a lot of boys will be boys type of stuff, but we, also try to be mindful of what my son is around, who he's around as well, even inside of the family. Every family member may have good intentions, but they may not know how to interact. Yeah. So, even at family functions and family reunions and stuff like that, my wife and I still try to make sure we have an eye on our son, so that he's not misunderstanding anything, and somebody else is not misunderstanding him. Yeah. But for the most part, our families have been really supportive and really cool.
Okay.
I think the really cool thing about like my family, really my wife's family, because we're in the same state with most of them, is my son got an iPad, and my wife's grandkids, my wife's family, there are about 16 of them. They range from like 28 to like, a month old. And so my son got an iPad, all of his cousins' numbers, and he'll text the ones in college, out of college, and in high school. And so they're all very responsive and text back to him and whatnot. And so we're teaching them boundaries. Text once or twice and let it go. But we found out he'll like text somebody for a straight hour. So like cousins will text him right back for an hour. I'm like, you can't text folks for an hour. And so he'll ask about a cat. Tell me about your cat. Send me pictures. And so he feels really close to his cousins, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's been fun to see, that the way that they care for him, and like, even though he's texting for hours straight, they'll still respond to him. So that's been fun to see, that they have they're kind to him and they love him. So that's been fun.
Okay. a question came to mind, and I know Mia, I'm not sure if you guys have even had that conversation with your son Neo yet. He's 14.
Mhm.
Do you find, for all of you, including Mia, is it necessary to tell your super kid that they are on the spectrum? Have you told your child that, your sons, and if so, what was their response?
That's a good question.
Go ahead.
We did. We
Yeah,
did.
we told mine too.
Yeah, but we don't, like, in our house, we don't lead with autism.
Right.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, I
son,
get
you have autism. And my son also has ADHD. He's dual diagnosed.
Mm.
I don't lead with ADHD and I don't lead with autism.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not a hindrance, it's not a crutch.
Yeah.
The expectations are still expectations. We just gotta to get there differently.
Yeah.
You still need to respect your elders, like
Yeah.
Trav was saying earlier. We just need to show you a different way to go about doing it.
Right.
You may need more time and to respond to an elder, or your brain is processing faster. So you may blurt out something and have to turn around and apologize. So I mean, we still try to raise our child to the best of our knowledge and abilities, etc. But we don't lean on his diagnosis.
Okay.
We treat him if he had a diagnosis, or if he didn't.
Yeah.
We just try to do the best we can.
So along the lines of Nick, our son knows that he's on the spectrum, and I'm not gonna lie, we struggled with that because we didn't know if the right thing was to tell him or not. We had talked to people that were on the spectrum that said that the fact that they didn't know actually helped them excel in life. And then we've talked to some individuals that said that, well, because I knew how to deal with my emotions and I knew how to regulate things, and I knew because if I was having a meltdown or breakdown, that was why. And so you just have to kind of pick, what are you going to do? And so what we did is my son's favorite superhero is Miles Morales, the Black Spider-Man, or just Spider-Man. So Miles Morales is half Black, half Latino. My son is half Black and half Latino. So we just told him that your neurodivergent is your superpower. Ironic to the show, right? Like,
Perfect.
and so
that's
right. So like he uses that, he uses his autism as his superpower. And, there are days where he gets frustrated, and kind of Lonnie was saying with his son, like my son stutters a lot. And so he gets frustrated, and he questions sometimes like, hey dad, why am I autistic? And I said, remember, that's your superpower, you Miles Morales. And he kind of comes out of it, but we were able to use that as a positive. So he goes back to that when he's having his, meltdowns or episodes. And it's not always easy, like a lot of times he'll think about it, but then, trying to regulate emotions and things like that is a struggle. But that's how we used it. We used it more as a superpower versus as a hindrance. And again, it was hard because we did not know if telling him was the right thing, or if, him not knowing would mean that he would excel further in life. And so I don't know what made us tell him. I think my wife and I talked about it, and we just said, you know what? Because he was starting to have questions about why he was exhibiting some behaviors. And I think that's why we ended up telling him, because we didn't want to lie to him. We're not really big in lying in my house. Lies leads to a lot of secrets. So we try not to lie in our household. So we end up telling him, and I think overall it has really helped him understand who he is, and he'll continue to understand who he is. And so I would, if I was giving advice, I would, I can't tell people what to do. I can't tell families, tell their kids or not, but I think letting them kids know that they are different, but it's a positive difference, that they'll still, go very far in life. And that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be honest, me and my wife definitely told our son sooner than we expected. I know me personally, I didn't plan to have the conversation maybe till about 8 or 9. And my reason for that personally is because I really want him to understand and be able to take that knowledge and continue to grow. But we were put in a situation last summer in which my son was attending ABA therapy, going daily. Mind you, he would start his day maybe 7 o'clock, going to summer camp, have to go pick him up at 4 o'clock, take him over to the ABA center. He'd do about a solid 2.5, 3 hours sometimes there. So
Wow.
that's like a 12-hour work shift. So we all
Wow.
working. We know that's a lot. And mind you, this is just a kid trying to enjoy summer.
Right.
At
Wow.
one point, me and my wife even felt bad. And it was one conversation, we picked him up and he was just like, he enjoyed going there. It was
Mhm.
great, but he just was so tired. He was like, I don't really want to go.
Um,
I'm tired. And we just was like, well, I think this is a good time to have the conversation and help him understand why he's going. So we also took the approach of buying literature, books that related to superpowers, as
Mhm.
well as just books that related to big feelings, because that's something that my oldest has is big feelings, and he's very expressive. So that literature was something that we introduced to him. We actually keep those books with him. He has a backpack in which he either carries his tablet or his Nintendo Switch, depending on the location he's going to. And he also carries that literature. And, if he has to read something, we always want him to reflect on that and look at that as, something like, hey, this is who I am. This is what makes me special. I plan to, have a more in-depth conversation again, but we just wanted to introduce it to him, and he grasps the whole superhero concept because he loves the fact that it's something that makes him unique and different, and he's going to change the world one day because of that.
That's beautiful.
We have not had that discussion with our son yet. We've not disclosed his diagnosis, and she's been like 2 years, 1 or 2 years for me, really being able to say it out loud. And so
right. Right.
I think it's a conversation I need to have with my wife. But my daughter, who's 8, was like, my brother has autism. I was like, yeah. I'm like, how the hell she know that? She's Millennial. I was like, how does she know? But she like, okay.
Oh,
And so we've been thinking about it, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm comfortable with that yet. I don't know why, but that's something I got to think about a lot. And so the literature is mixed on it, though. Some folks say it's good to do. Other folks say it's not. And there's it's just newer literature just coming out about the benefit of disclosure, the benefit of not disclosing. And so I think it's I think if you can do it in a way where it's not a crutch, or it is a superpower, or is a benefit, I think
Mhm.
that can be beneficial to a child, because my son, the hardest part when he gets frustrated, when he has difficulties, like a stuttering, is like he's like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Right. And so I want to figure out the right time to tell him. It's almost like, to me, it's the same thing as almost having a sex discussion, right? I done ordered like 4 or 5 books. I'm trying to figure out how to have this discussion. I'm sweating. My conversation was, don't get nobody pregnant. You got some equipment in the drawer, right? Don't get nobody pregnant. So I'm trying to figure out how these discussions. I don't know how to have them. And so I'm starting to have anatomy discussions with my son. You're changing. This
wow.
is deodorant boy. You get some funk. And so, you're gonna
I
start
know about.
growing hair and other things. And so
Yeah.
for me, I get the same comfort level having that discussion as with having his diagnosis discussion. So I'm not there yet, but I'm trying to get there.
Okay. Mia, have you guys had that discussion yet?
No, we haven't either. We kind of just, we don't talk about it like that. We let him, his emotions and how he's processing. We talk to him about that particularly, but we don't tell him. We have not actually came out and had that discussion. Now, the other kid, my youngest, the Isaiah, we've talked to him about it because he knew something. He's like, why does he do this? Or why does he do that? So we've actually told him, but we haven't had that conversation with Nehemiah.
Okay. And again, you don't lead with it. Yeah.
Right. We do not lead with it at all. No, not at all.
So guys, how do you advise, because some of our listeners are probably kind of low-key trying to get some information and still in denial.
Yep.
So perfect opportunity when you have all these brothers on the show. Okay,
Yep.
brother to to a brother who's in denial?
Yes.
What do you tell them?
It's a great question. I, you know, I think for me, because I've had conversations with people that are in denial.
Mm-hmm.
And so I find that telling my own story kind of helps push them to maybe get their child diagnosed, because
Okay.
I'll start talking about my feelings about it, and I have to be vulnerable. You know, I can't really hide anything when I'm having those types of conversations. So I find that trying to give people advice, especially people you don't know, is a turnoff, because they're going to automatically say, well, you don't know my situation, you don't know my child. And so I just find sharing my own story kind of gets them asking me questions, because I'll say something that'll trigger something that their child does, because I'll talk about something that my child does. And so I think that's the best way to approach it, is to share your own story, because I've been in situations where, and it's all an assumption, but I could see a child and they have different quirks and things, and I said, you know what, that child might be on the spectrum, but I'm just not going to come out and say, hey, once you get your kid diagnosed, like it has to be, it has to be an organic, you know, conversation. Like, hey, my child used to do that, you know, or my child used to do that, you know, and then it starts to be more organic. And then next thing you know, they're asking me questions and asking for resources and, you know, different support groups and things like that. So I find that just sharing your own story is probably the best way to go about it.
Yeah. You got to make it a personal goal. In life, you have to continue to better yourself and your surroundings. Ironically, my situation in joining the group and the brotherhood was a New Year's resolution. My wife found this group for me December 2021, so about 2 months after the diagnosis, still in denial, struggling. I wanted to join a meeting. I literally opened the Zoom. I don't think I ever told these guys this. I opened the Zoom and I shut the laptop. And I made a personal excuse, like I don't have time, I'm not mentally ready, because I felt like I was going to be judged. You know, I never told them that. But a month later, new year, you know, first meeting, you know, Tide Pop song. Hey, what's up, Travis? You know, a conversation like I knew her from back in the day or something.
Wow.
And almost 2 years later, it's a brotherhood. So the biggest
Oh,
thing is
that's
just
great.
personal growth and wanting to be a better person for those around you, and making sure that you're putting yourself in the best position so that you could be better for others. So my advice is take that leap, go for it. The worst thing is that you try at the end of the day. If you don't get the advice or the answers you were looking for, that's okay. The biggest thing is that you go for it, because you never know what benefit not only you're gonna get out of it, but information you could pass to somebody else, and you can also get a brotherhood like me.
There you
We
go.
talked
I
about
love that. That's good. That's good.
we talked about how we were raised a little bit, but I think for me, the thing that I've been working on this year, this past month, is I finally went to see somebody. I finally found a counselor, right? I wanted a Black counselor, I wanted a male counselor, and that was hard to find. But I said, you know what? It's important for me to work on how I was raised, work on some things that are still with me, right? And so for me, you know, academics was a trauma response. I can be successful in this space. I can push this, push. And so I'm at the end of my academic rope right now. I'm about to finish my dissertation, hopefully. And I don't have that. School has always been therapy for me. It's always been that. That's why I've been collecting degrees for decades for that reason. I don't have that anymore. And so you know, I've had to say, I got some work to do myself so that I can be a better father. And so it's taken me a long time to get here. So I went to a therapist a decade ago, and I said a similar story. I'm here to get some help. I want to work on some things in my past. And her first thing she said to me was, well, if you have as many degrees as you say you have, I'm like, what the hell does that? I walked out.
Oh,
Here I am. I don't want to be. I don't want to be this therapist. I don't
put
want to
you
be
on the
here.
defensive right off
You
the bat.
know, I'm vulnerable. I'm trying to get there, and the first thing you coming at me is doubting me. So 10 years later, I got the courage to go back, and so it's been beneficial. I've been enjoying it, and I told my dude, "You about to earn your money messing with me. You about to earn some money." And so only because I don't want to. I see things that have been passed down, generation by generation. So I want to interrupt those things intentionally. So I would say to dads, you gotta. Being vulnerable is something different, but you can't do it on your own. You cannot do this autism journey on your own. You need community. You need folks to bounce things off of. And it's been, really beneficial to have a group of people who are going through other things, who are like normal people. You know what I mean? Like
yes,
real, and so that's been really cool to have this group for that reason.
Awesome.
And for me, what I've run across is a lot of brothers looking for something. Like they want community, like Lonnie was saying. They want to find some other brothers that's talking about the same stuff we talking about. Like they've reached a point in their life where, or somebody has talked to them or whatever, and they're like, I need somebody else to kind of help me shoulder the emotions of it all. And that's kind of where I was in my journey with these brothers. Is from my beginning with the group, it was trying to figure out, where can I put it all? Where's a place with people who look like me, like was mentioned earlier, that's not going to judge me. And Ty being a facilitator is probably the best thing since sliced bread, because Ty has this way about just making you feel comfortable. And so I'm running to brothers, and we may have a conversation about something totally different, and then the next thing you know, they make a mention, oh yeah, we did whatever because my child got diagnosed with ASD. Oh, for real? So, tell me more about your story. And some brothers I've run across is, man, I just, it's a struggle. It's rough. It's tough. And then it's like, there's a podcast. I pin the podcast out there, and I say, here's the support group. There's a support group out there. Just jump in and check it out. One session, one time. If you like it, keep going. If you think it's beneficial, keep it moving. If this is not for you, it's not for you.
Right.
But some brothers jump in, and the group that we're a part of, it's like, yo, I've been looking for this. This is like life-saving information, just to sit and say, I got some other brothers I can talk to.
Right.
And there have been days when these three brothers and some of the other brothers in our group have been my therapy. So I know that there are brothers out there who are looking for brothers, just to have these conversations that you're unsure of, because this is this ASD superpower autism thing for a lot of us in this generation is a brand new deal.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Not only getting ASD, but they're being dual diagnosed.
Yes.
So sometimes you may have multiple things going on. And in our group, we got some people that have children that have multiple things going on. And so you want, to be able just to have the conversation. And then there are thoughts about the future for your child that you may still, like, I still wonder, what my son's dating life is going to be like when he gets older, And I think about that. So, but having some brothers to have those conversations with children around the same age, you now realize that I am not walking alone in this world. I got a band of brothers.
There you go.
Some dope brothers at that. These are things. I'm gonna be honest. These aren't sugarcoating cats. Like, we talk from our experience, but every last one of these brothers has a level of information and education from their experience that can turn a room around, which makes me more proud to be on a platform with any of them, and especially with all of them.
Okay. And you know what? I couldn't have closed it out any better than what you just did.
Are we done already? Are you serious?
Done,
This
but
is
we're
nuts.
going to have you guys back. I'm going to have
Yes.
stay
This is
on for a
crazy.
second while we close out. Again, you have not heard the last of AutisHim. They will be back. Listeners, thank you for tuning in to the Superpower Radio Show with your host, Brenda Major, and
Mia Dawson.
you will definitely hear from us again.
Bye-bye, guys.